Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Siheyuan. Starting from helping the neighbor's sister.in.law reborn in an era of material scarcity, Wang Canjun gained a space and lived a carefree life. The beautiful widow next door was a kind-hearted person who bestowed a favor on him. After her husband's death, with a daughter, life was very difficult. Wang Canjun extended a helping hand, gave money and food, and even went to deliver warmth at night. Qiao's sister.in.law was extremely grateful and couldn't repay her, so she introduced her cousin Qin Huairu to Wang Canjun. At this time, Qin Huairu, who had not yet married Jia Dongxu, was still a beautiful young lady and the most handsome girl in the entire Red Star Commune. She was hardworking, capable, and able to manage a household. Wang Canjun was tempted. Isn't the Qinhuai Ru in his hand fragrant? Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Rebirth of the Past. Neighbor is a pretty widow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Suburbs of Beijing. Wanjia Village. Wang Canjun woke up leisurely. Opening my eyes, I found myself lying in a strange and dilapidated room. The furniture in the room is all old-fashioned, and there is a strange and handsome woman next to her, wearing a floral cotton jacket with 3 buttons open on her chest. The bulges inside were already too big to wrap, but now they are even more eager to come out. The woman was staring at Wang Canjun with a worried expression on her face. The situation before him was very unfamiliar, and Wang Canjun couldn't help but be taken aback. Is it difficult for me to dream? Last night, the unit organized a group to build their own drink a little heavy, almost 2 jin of baijiu, drink on the spot and nobody wakes up. Junzi, you finally woke up. The woman breathed a long sigh of relief as she saw him wake up. Her tightly furrowed pretty eyebrows spread out, revealing a relieved expression on her face. You've been unconscious for a day and a night, but you scared my sister.in.law. Wang Canjun looked at the woman in surprise and was about to say, do we know each other? Suddenly, a memory flooded into his mind. After a moment, he suddenly looked. Damn it, I actually traveled through time. After obtaining the memory of the original owner, the scene in front of me is no longer unfamiliar. I have also gained a general understanding of this body. Originally, the original owner had the same name and surname as him, also known as Wang Canjun. This may be the reason why he was able to take away this body. Just getting younger. In his past life, he had reached his 30s, but now he is a young man of 17 or 18 years old. I don't know if it's because my parents have strong genes or developed well after birth. This body is worth showing off, with a tall and powerful figure, thick and developed limbs, and incredibly strong from head to toe. Even below, even if you take off your pants, they are longer than others. And the women around me are no longer unfamiliar. The woman's name is Xueru. She is from the neighboring village Qinjia village. She is a cousin of Qinhuai Ru. She married to their Wang village the year before last and became a neighbor to the original owner. Unfortunately, this woman's fate is not good. Her husband is a hunter and went hunting in the mountains when he encountered a herd of wild boars. He was led by a 400-pound wild boar king and arched off a cliff, leaving Xueru and her 1-year-old daughter to pieces. Life was very difficult. A woman has a difficult fate, but she is a kind-hearted person who takes good care of the original owner. As the original owner's parents died early, he is the only child left in the family. At the age of 18, she has not yet married, and the whole family is not hungry. It's just that the household chores are not done efficiently, and she likes to deal with them when eating. Xueru can't bear to see them and often brings them over after they are done. The original owner is also someone who knows how to be grateful. When Xueru is in difficulty, he will also lend a helping hand. The relationship between the two families has always been good, but this year is not good, and every household cannot eat enough. Xueru is a widow, dragging a 1-year-old child who already earns less work and suffers even more hunger. the baby in her arms needs to be fed, and Qin Huairu can't even eat enough. Where can she get milk? Every night, her daughter Xiaoying is so hungry that she cries and cries. The original owner couldn't bear it anymore after hearing this, so he borrowed Qin Huairu's hunting rifle and went to the mountain, hoping to kill a prey to improve Qin Huairu's life. However, he also encountered a wild boar. Fortunately, there were only 2 ends, and because they ran fast, they managed to escape the disaster. I just dropped a gel while running and hit my head, causing a serious injury. I was both shocked and scared, and when I got home, I had a high fever and was unconscious. Even after receiving medication, I didn't see any improvement. After seeing it, the villagers shook their heads one after another. Even several elders of Wang Canjun.At's family expressed that they were not saved, but kind-hearted Qin Huairu burned incense and prayed for Wang Canjun.At every day, guarding by her side day and night to take care of her. But unfortunately, the original owner still died. Otherwise, Wang Canjun.At wouldn't have had a chance to seize it, but this woman's actions moved Wang Canjun.At very much. This is a good woman. Although Qin Huairu did not leave any memories of his care and the unconscious owner, Wang Canjun.At could not help but express gratitude from the scene before him. Sister Xueru, thank you very much, he said. Junzi, don't say that quickly. If you wake up, it's a blessing and a great destiny. But don't go hunting in the mountains again in the future, it's too dangerous. If you can't wake up this time, I'll feel sorry for a lifetime in my heart, Qin Huairu said, shedding 2 tears. At this moment, Wang Canjun.At patted his mouth. I feel a scent similar to trenches. In this era of material scarcity, not to mention the lack of conditions to eat milk powder, even if one has it, they cannot buy it, because in this era, there was no milk powder in China, only substitute milk powder, and only wealthy families in the city can afford it. Rural people have never seen what that is, and if there's a smell in his mouth, he can easily think of what's going on. After figuring it out, he couldn't help but sigh, this is a good woman. If it weren't for being married and having children, Wang Canjun.At would have wanted to marry his family as his wife. Qin Huairu felt embarrassed and couldn't stay any longer. She made an excuse to say that Xiaoying was still sleeping at home and probably needed to wake up, so she hurriedly left. After Qin Huairu left, Wang Canjun.At got off the bed. He has a good foundation in his body. Although he is weak, he can still hold on. He just feels hungry in his stomach. As soon as his feet land, his mind becomes dizzy, and it takes a while for the dizziness to subside. He observed the house inside and outside again. The courtyard is very large, with a row of 3 main houses and 2 ear rooms made of mud bricks and tiles. The houses appear spacious but somewhat dilapidated. In the yard, a chicken nest was built under a wudong tree. Outside the nest, a skinny old hen with sharp claws scratched on the yellow mud in search of insects to eat. It was the only living thing in the family except him. Watching the thin and emaciated appearance of the chicken, Wang Canjun.At wanted to feed it, but unfortunately, no one has to eat during this season. How could they be willing to feed it? Thinking that my family was also running out of food, I felt a wave of worry. In his past life, when he was in the most difficult situation, even though his living conditions were difficult, he never worried about food. He never thought of crossing into this impoverished era and worrying about food when he came over. This beginning was really a bit tragic. At this moment, a cold wind blew and he felt waves of dizziness. Then it suddenly turned black before his eyes, and when it lit up again, he found himself not in his own courtyard, but in a strange place. There is sunshine on the head, the temperature is very moderate, and a gentle breeze blows, so it is not winter. Looking up, he saw a large fertile field in front of him, with a small pond measuring 10 meters square in the middle, which was a scene he had never seen before. Just as he was surprised, a long message flooded into his mind, making his face suddenly appear. Originally, he gained a space. Chapter 2. Obtaining a space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The space is 30 acres in size, equivalent to 10 standard-sized football fields. The land in the space is fertile, full of vitality, thriving, with suitable temperature, and the 4 seasons are like spring. There is a pond located in the center of the land, which is 10 meters square. There is a spring in the pond that can continuously store water to ensure that the water in the pond never dries up. That water can not only be used for irrigating the land, but also contains a large amount of heaven and earth energy. Drinking it can quickly supplement the body's needs for humans and animals. Long-term consumption can strengthen the foundation and nourish the body, enhance physical fitness, repair diseases and injuries, and prolong life. As the owner of space, he can bring humans and animals into the space, and space also endows him with many abilities. The first function is the spatial teleportation function, which is somewhat similar to the teleportation array in previous immortal novels. He can be sent to any place he wants to go. For example, if he wants to go to the 49th city, with just one thought, space can teleport him to the 49th city. For example, if he wants to go to a beautiful country now, he only needs one idea. The journey of several 100,000 kilometers is also an instant must-reach. This function is a bit like teleportation. Wherever he wants to go, with just one thought, he can instantly travel back and forth. In an era of extremely inconvenient transportation, this ability is not insignificant. Another ability is that he can freely regulate the flow rate of time in space, and he himself is not affected or limited by the flow rate of time at all. He is an absolute king in space, with a divine perspective. When humans or livestock enter space, their will is completely controlled by him as the master of the space. In space, Wang Canjun has the power to take life and death from all living beings. He only needs one idea to kill in space. Similarly, if he wants to slaughter the livestock in the space, he only needs one idea and does not need to do it himself. The livestock will be slaughtered on their own, not only animals, but also plants. After the crops in the space mature, there is no need for manual harvesting, only a single idea is needed. For example, when the wheat in the space is ripe, Wang joins the army with only one idea, and the wheat can be automatically harvested, including drying, peeling and grinding into flour, with only one idea, and it can be completed almost instantaneously, which is very convenient. There are many functions in the space that Wang Canjun will not have the time to experience. He is hungry in the stomach and weak in the body, so he only wants to supplement his physical needs, so he quickly walked to the pond in the center of the space, but saw that the water in the pond was clear and bottomless, with no debris in it, even cleaner than his own well water. He reached out his hands, picked up a handful of water to his mouth, and drank it with a thud. He felt a refreshing taste and a hint of sweetness, even better than any water he had ever drunk in his past life. After being submerged in the water, it immediately overflowed and spread throughout the body, as if it had turned into a trickle of warm water, bringing vitality. The feeling of fatigue in the body dissipated instantly. The pain and other symptoms of head injuries have also been significantly reduced. Even the feeling of hunger has decreased significantly, and there is also a feeling of abundant physical strength and fierce energy. He shook his head and tried to divert his attention, thinking of doing something serious. Space is in hand, we can't solve the food supply problem first. With a thought in mind, he left the space and returned home. After searching the room, I found 3 kilograms of wheat seeds left by the original owner, ready to take them into the space for planting. I thought of several Chinese cabbage and a dozen or so radishes in the cellar. There was food and vegetables available, but those without oil or meat were not nutritious to eat, so he searched again and finally found a few bean seeds in a sack. Counting them, he found only 8, an abnormal treasure. He carefully pinched them in his palm. After entering the space, Wang Canjun first planted wheat seeds and a few beans in the soil of the space, and also watered some space pond water. Then, with a direct thought, he adjusted the time flow rate in the space to 100 times faster. He felt that time was still too slow, so he adjusted it to 1,000 times faster. If the temperature reaches certain conditions, such as the current temperature in space being between 15 and 20 degrees, and is very stable, then the growth cycle of wheat is almost the same as that of soybeans. It's all around 100 days, time can be increased by 100 times, and newly planted wheat only takes 1 day to mature. After being increased by 1,000 times, it only takes more than 2 hours, but Wang Canjun still found it slow. There were only a few pounds of stick noodles left at home, which were so thick that he couldn't even eat them. He decided to speed up the time to 5,000 times. In this process, a magical scene happened. He can see with his naked eyes that the seeds in the soil break through the soil, grow into wheat seedlings, grow into wheat plants, and then bear ears of wheat. The ears of wheat grow full and turn yellow. At the same time, the beans that were planted had already matured, and there were signs of cracking in the bean clips. Wang Canjun decisively adjusted the spatial time to the normal value, and then with a thought, he harvested, dried, peeled wheat and soybeans, and then planted them as seeds. After much repetition, half an hour had passed and the wheat in the space had piled up in a pile, weighing hundreds of pounds and soybeans weighing dozens of pounds. Wang Canjun ground wheat into flour and pressed soybeans into soybean oil. He only needed one thought to complete these tasks in an instant. The space has a fresh keeping function. Storing grains in the space will not mold or spoil. Even perishable meat and grains can be permanently preserved, so Wang Canjun does not need to transport grains out of the space. He first added 10 pounds of flour and 3 pounds of soybean oil, but didn't add too much. If he added too much, he couldn't finish it and had no intention of selling it for now. Then he returned to reality, walked into the yard, grabbed the old hen that was about to pick up insects, brought it into the space, grabbed a bunch of wheat and soybeans, and threw them to it. The old hen had been hungry for several days, and at this moment, like a shower of rain, she pecked and ate quickly, extremely greedy, and soon she was full. The old hen was very dedicated to her job, and when she was full, she giggled to find a nest to lay eggs. Wang Canjun found a soft piece of firewood and broken cotton wool to build a nest for her in the space. The old hen was excited and lay down to start laying eggs. Wang Canjun timely increased the flow of time, and in less than a minute, an egg was laid. Wang Canjun increased the speed of time by 1,000 times, and in 3 minutes, it seemed like a month had passed. The old hen laid over 30 eggs. Next, Wang Canjun pondered for a moment and thought of Qin Huai Ru's rooster. He left the space and quietly entered her house. Seeing her busy cooking without notifying her, she used the space teleportation function to capture the rooster and throw it into the space, ordering it to stack together with the old hen. When 2 chickens came together, they completed mating in an instant. Afterwards, he quickly threw the rooster back to Qin Huai Ru's house, then commanded the old hen to nest and hatch her chicks with eggs. The space temperature is suitable, and time accelerates. The old hen's incubation process is very fast, which is just a few minutes. For chicks are hatched, at a time flow rate of thousands of times, for chicks grew up at a visible speed to the naked eye, and in just a few minutes, they had already grown into big chickens. Wang Canjun was really hungry, so he adjusted the spatial and temporal flow rate to normal, and then prepared to go home to cook and eat. He had only just returned to his home in reality from space when Qin Huai Ru entered the house with her daughter Xiaoying in one hand and a rice bowl in the other. Inside the rice bowl was a large steaming bowl of corn paste and 6 pieces of sorghum cakes. She first placed the cherry blossom on the bed and then took out the rice from the bowl and placed it on the table. She said, "You haven't eaten all day and night, are you starving? What I just made, eat while it's hot." Wang Canjun held Xiaoying in his arms and teased her. This little girl looked like Qin Huai Ru, with a white ying like a snow baby and a pink face that even Wang Canjun couldn't help but want to kiss her, but as soon as the little girl woke up, she might have been hungry and started crying. Wang Canjun said, "No, Xiaoyingzi and I still recognize each other. She's hungry." Qin Huai Ru took little Yingzi from Wang Canjun's arms and urged him again before sitting aside. Unexpectedly, she unbuttoned her jacket and started breastfeeding her child, without any taboo. Wang Canjun glanced at it and saw it was snow-white. Suddenly, his face was hot and his heart was beating. He quickly turned his head and sat at the table, burying his head in eating. Chapter 3. Qin Huai Ru's proposal for Wang Canjun as a mediator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Countryside people don't have that much attention to detail, and even the ants don't shy away from their milk babies. Even the more vulgar village women dare to have milk babies on the streets as if no one else were there. Qin Huai Ru is quite a conservative woman. She has never breastfed a child on the street, and it seems that she has never breastfed in front of any other man, only Wang Canjun is an exception. At this moment, Wang Canjun thought to himself, maybe she didn't shy away after breastfeeding her once, or maybe she didn't even consider herself a man, just a child. Although the corn batter and sorghum pancakes were very rough, Wang Canjun, who had just crossed over, ate them fresh and finished them in no time. In his past life, he had only eaten these when he was a child, and now he still finds them fresh, but after finishing it, he remembered that Qin Huairu's food was running low. The last time he went to her house, he knew that her coarse grain had already bottomed out. He probably ate up all the food in her house after this heavy meal, and suddenly felt a pang of remorse. He asked, "Sister Xueru, are you out of food at home? Why do you still make so much for me to eat?" Qin Huairu didn't answer for a moment. After a moment of silence, she said, "Junzi, you have a wound on your body and need nutrition. Don't think too much about it. Our family doesn't have much food, but we still have half a bag of dried sweet potatoes. We can always deal with it." Wang Canjun wanted to take out the flour from the space to help this woman, but he didn't dare. Qin Huairu knows about his family's situation. How many pounds of stick noodles are there? If it's white noodles, not to mention his family, he can't find a single pound even after searching the entire Wang family village. If he really takes out a few pounds of white noodles, it won't scare people closer and generate suspicion. The space is too big for him to be reckless. Thinking of this, he dispelled the idea. Instead of answering the conversation, he went to the grain storage room and picked up the remaining 5 pounds of stick noodles. With a thought, he threw 2 eggs from the space into the bag of stick noodles and brought them to the woman's face. He said, "Sister Xueru, I still have some coarse grain at home. Take it out and eat it first." Qin Huairu was breastfeeding her child. Upon hearing this, she was taken aback and instinctively looked at the grain bag in front of her. Reaching out and opening the bag, I looked inside and saw that it was made of stick noodles with 2 eggs inside. I was immediately moved. Wang Canjun had done everything he could, but his face was a bit angry. He scolded and said, "What do you think, kid? You gave me all the food, what do you eat? You're at the age of growing up and eating a lot." Wang Canjun interrupted her and corrected, "Sister Xueru, I am an adult now and have grown up." Qin Huairu hesitated at the words and looked up at him, looking up and down. "That's right, he's 1.8 meters tall and robust like a cow. It is truly a miracle that he was able to grow into such a burly figure despite the famine and hunger in this year and month." She felt relieved in her heart, but when she saw him talking to her, his face turned to one side, and he even blushed slightly. His breathing was as thick as a cow's, and she suddenly realized something. With a chuckle, he said, "Yes, Junzi has grown into an adult." Wang Canjun's twisted neck was a bit sore. Seeing her turn around like this, although he didn't dare to look, he still wanted to see it in his heart. After taking a glance, he turned around and said, "Sister-in-law, can you not feed Sakura in front of me in the future?" Qin Huairu chuckled again and said, "What's wrong?" "I'm a bit overwhelmed," Wang Canjun said in a buzzing voice. He really can't bear it. At his age, he's full of vitality, and Qin Huairu is the most beautiful woman in the village, with a fair and beautiful face, delicate skin and tender flesh, and a figure that is completely like a ripe peach. The bachelors in the village look straight at her. Being beautiful is the original sin. Li Hu, a second-rate villager, often talks and teases, and even knocks on her door at night. However, she is scolded and taken away by Qin Huairu every time. Once, he stumbled into her yard using his courage to drink. Fortunately, Qin Huairu heard the commotion and called Wang Canjun in time, otherwise he might have been ruined by that beast. Junzi has grown up, and now he wants to marry his wife. Qin Huairu pursed her lips and looked at Wang Canjun with a slightly complicated expression. "The way my sister used to look at my younger brother has changed a bit now." Seeing Wang Canjun's handsome appearance and robust figure, her eyes were also a bit hot. Although she has married and had children, her actual age is only 22 years old, 4 years older than Wang Canjun. After her husband's death, She also lived a dull and tasteless life. Everyone had emotions and desires, especially at her age. Seeing a handsome young man like Wang Canjun, who often helps and protects her, naturally gives rise to some likes and feelings, but as soon as he thought about his widowhood and dragging on his daughter, he immediately dispelled his thoughts and said, "Junzi, should my sister.in.law provide you with a matchmaker?" Wang Canjun didn't refuse either. With a simple and honest smile, he said, "My family is so poor that I don't have any elderly people to support me. Which girl is willing to marry me?" "Junzi, don't think that way. As the saying goes, poverty has no roots, wealth has no seedlings. People won't be poor for a lifetime. As long as you are diligent and capable, life will be easier in the future. Besides, you are so spirited and sturdy that you will be liked by girls." Qin Huai Ru smiled and said, "Tell me, what kind of person do you like? Tell my sister.in.law so that she can find a match for you." "Sister-in-law, just find me one like you," said Wang Canjun, turning his head to take a look. "All the women in the Qin family are beautiful. Qin Huairu is Qin Huairu's cousin, and the two sisters look a bit similar. Qin Huairu looks no worse than Qin Huairu, and after giving birth, her figure has become even more plump." Qin Huairu's heart trembled upon hearing this, and a blush appeared on her pretty face. She bit her lips and smiled angrily, saying, "No, Junzi, have you never seen a woman before, or are your standards too low? Compared to finding someone like her, sister.in.law is already an old woman who has married and had children. What's so good about her?" Upon hearing this, Wang Canjun became bolder and looked straight at him, saying, "Sister-in-law, I only care about someone like you. I can't find someone like you. I would rather be single for a lifetime." Qin Huairu couldn't hear the meaning of Wang Canjun's words when she heard them. Her heart was sweet and she said that Junzi liked me, but unfortunately, with her own identity, the two could only be destined for each other. There was a hint of sadness in my heart at the moment, and I angrily said, "Don't talk nonsense. You are the only child in your family, and I'm pointing fingers at you for passing on the family line. If you don't give birth to a son and a half-daughter for the old Wang family, it will be a shame to our ancestors. Sister-in-law, but I just like you." Wang Canjun's words became more and more bold. He possessed the body of the original owner, but did not inherit his personality. The original owner was an honest and unsophisticated man. Although he also liked Qin Huairu very much, due to their respective identities, he never dared to express a word. He kept it in his heart and even suffered internal injuries. He is different. He feels that if he likes it, he needs to say it out loud. Even if he knows there is no result, he can still have a thought that reaches his heart smoothly. The key was that he saw that this woman also liked him. Otherwise, if he said such blatant words, the other party might have been angry and scolded him long ago. "Junzi, your demands are so high that my sister.in.law may not be able to help you," Qin Huairu said, biting her lips, with a look of sadness and sorrow on her face, as if she wanted to shed tears. "Sister-in-law, why don't you marry me?" Wang Canjun blurted out impulsively, "He's not deceiving either. If this woman really agreed, he would actually marry. What's wrong with second-married women? Second-married women know how to hurt others better. What's wrong with taking care of the children? They saved themselves the trouble of farming." Qin Huairu's face trembled upon hearing this, and tears immediately came down her face. "Join the army. The more you talk, the more you lose your composure. My sister.in.law is a widow and still dragging a child. How can she deserve you? Sister-in-law, but I just like you, and I don't care about these things." "But my sister.in.law cares." Qin Huairu lowered her head sadly. "Join the army. If you marry me, not to mention in the village, you won't be able to lift your head even when you go outside. You will be ridiculed for a lifetime." Qin Huairu is not an alarmist. Even in the later generations with open-mindedness, if you marry a widow with children around you, you will be looked down upon by others. Moreover, in this era, people's traditional thinking will be ridiculed for a lifetime. "Sister-in-law, I really don't care about these things." "All right, join the army. It's not meant to be between us. Don't mention this matter again in the future, Qin Huairu said as she saw her daughter sleeping soundly, so she pulled it out of her mouth. Then he gathered up his coat collar, picked up his daughter, stood up with tears in his eyes, and was about to leave. His expression was extremely gloomy, extremely disappointed, and there was a hint of clear pity. Wang Canjun couldn't help but reach out and hug her and Sakura in his arms. "Oh, Junzi, what are you doing? Let go of me quickly." Qin Huairu struggled for a moment, but didn't exert any strength. Chapter 4. Qiao's sister.In.Law wants Wang to stay at home and join the army for the night. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Sister-in-law, I really like you. Wang Canjun did this out of comfort for Qin Huairu, as well as a natural instinct. You are a good woman and should not be let down. Junzi, come on, be careful not to be seen. Qin Huairu's face turned red. Sister-in-law, whether you agree or not, I will take good care of you and Xiaoyingzi in the future, Wang Canjun said as he released him. Qin Huairu hugged her daughter and left without even bothering to pick up the rice bowl. When Wang Canjun proposed to deliver it to someone, Qin Huairu explained, "You can bring me the rice bowl later." After Qin Huairu left, Wang Canjun went to the space and was busy for a while. In the evening, Wang Canjun lit a fire to cook rice, steamed a few white noodles, and also steamed a few steamed buns with stick noodles. Then, he killed a chicken in the space and stewed it. After the meal was ready, he ate it first and then put the remaining large bowl of chicken, along with chicken soup and 4 steamed buns, into the rice bowl. He picked it up and arrived at Qin Huairu's house. Qin Huairu's house was only separated by a wall from Wang Canjun's house. Wang Canjun cooked chicken at home, and Qin Huairu could naturally smell it. At that time, she was very puzzled. At this moment, Wang Canjun opened the rice bowl and brought out a bowl of chicken. The aroma made her swallow a mouthful of water uncontrollably. Since her husband's death, she has never eaten meat again. It has been almost half a year since she knew the taste of meat. How could she not slander, but she didn't mean to eat, and instead stared at Wang Canjun with some surprise and blame, asking, "Junzi, won't you kill the old hen that laid eggs in your house?" If Wang Canjun admits, he will definitely face greater blame from this woman, who would be willing to kill chickens and eat them these days, especially old hens that can lay eggs. They are treasures in the family, unless this chicken died on its own. After thinking of this, Wang Canjun pretended to sigh and said, "Alas, I only have an old hen at home. She even pointed at it and laid eggs. How could she be willing to kill it? It died on its own. After I fell ill these days, I didn't even bother feeding it. Maybe I starved to death." Upon hearing this, Qin Huairu felt a bit guilty and said, "These days, I've only been concerned about you. I didn't pay attention to your old hen. Alas, it's a pity. I've already eaten it, you can eat it while it's hot," Wang Canjun said, and he took little Yingzi from her arms to hold her, then urged Qin Huairu to eat quickly. Qin Huairu hasn't cooked yet, but in fact, she doesn't eat at night or breakfast. In order to save food, I only have one lunch. Seeing someone deliver the food, there is no reason to refuse, so he started eating. Wang Canjun teased little Yingzi while watching the woman eat. Although Qin Huairu came from the countryside and didn't read much, she only had a primary school education and could barely recognize a few words, but her eating habits were very elegant. "Even if I'm extremely hungry, I still chew slowly and slowly. This is different from those rough village women and is commendable." Xiaoyingzi is neither hungry nor tired, full of energy, with 2 big eyes that are as lively as black gemstones, particularly beautiful. She didn't recognize Wang Canjun either, and was amused by him, making her giggle and laugh. Qin Huairu was eating fragrant chicken and watching Wang Canjun make her daughter laugh. Her heart was incredibly warm, and her face was also filled with a smile. She had hardly ever experienced the joy of family like this, even when her husband was still alive. His man has a hot temper, is also chauvinistic, and has a serious preference for sons over daughters. I was very unhappy to see her give birth to a baby girl. Not only does he dislike holding Sakura, but he also has a lot of objections towards her. blaming her for not having a good belly, even if I feel a little unhappy, I will curse and there is no peace at home. Unexpectedly, in Wang Canjun.At's body, the man's bad temper and outdated thoughts were completely absent. He not only dislikes girls, but also has a special liking for Sakura. She also feels particularly hurt. She is a good man who knows both cold and hot. As she thought about it, she sighed inwardly, feeling extremely regretful. She thought to herself that if she had waited for a few years, perhaps she would not have married her husband, but rather Wang Canjun. Unfortunately, in reality, there is no such thing as. Just as they were both immersed in a peaceful atmosphere, they suddenly heard the courtyard door being pushed open, footsteps making a sound, and walked straight towards each other. Xueru felt somewhat familiar with the footsteps, her face trembling and her delicate body trembling. At this moment, Wang Canjun instinctively looked outside and saw a man with an ugly appearance and a fierce face walking towards the door. It's none other than Li Hu, a second-rate villager. Li Hu clearly drank alcohol, with a dark and red face. When he walked to the door and saw Xueru, his face lit up. A kerosene lamp was lit in the room, and in order to save money, the lamp head was set very small and the light was dim. Li Hu didn't notice that there was another man in the room, so he got up in a foul language and said, "Snow Ru, little baby, you're at home, eating. Oh, there's chicken to eat. I haven't eaten it yet, Tiger Brother. Give Tiger Brother a bite, and he'll take good care of you after eating, hee." Speaking, Li Hu approached Xueru. Wang Canjun placed Xiaoying in a swaddle and stood up to block her. Before he could touch Xueru, he slapped him in the face with a loud slap, awakening his drunkenness. After finishing the fight, Wang Canjun shouted angrily, "Li Hu, you bastard, are bothering my sister. Law Xueru again." Li Hu was more shocked than angry when he saw that it was Wang Canjun. He pointed at him and exclaimed, "Wang Canjun, aren't you almost dead? Why are you still holding on like this?" Wang Canjun was seriously injured and has been unconscious for a long time. He has no money or medicine these days, and this situation is unlikely to survive. Therefore, when he mentioned him, the villagers shook their heads and said that he must be hopeless now. After hearing this, Li Hu was able to show off. He had been slandering Xueru for a long time, but he was afraid that Wang would join the army and never dare to force him. After hearing about Wang Canjun's situation, he had no worries and broke into the house openly, using wine to cover his face. However, he did not expect that Wang Canjun was not as serious as the big guy said. On the contrary, he still looked so lively. Although Li Hu is also sturdy, he is still a bit shorter than Wang Canjun, who is 1.8 meters tall. Faced with Wang Canjun, he only dared not be angry but dared not be surprised. When he saw Wang Canjun, he did not answer himself, only staring at himself with a look of wanting to kill someone. He was so scared that his neck shrank. Turn around and leave, but he still didn't give up, took a few steps, then turned back and fiercely gouged out Xueru. His lewd gaze seemed to be trying to eat Xueru. "If you dare to come over again, I'll break your leg," Wang Canjun shouted a warning angrily. "This is not your home. I want to come, can you manage it?" Li Hu said and ran away, but there was a clear sense of unwillingness in his voice, with a hint of dissatisfaction. When Wang Canjun's angry expression flashed and he was about to chase after him, Xueru hugged him and advised him, "Joining the army, forget it. Uncle Li Hu became the deputy captain of the production team in the election 2 days ago. You really beat me up, and I'm afraid it won't be easy to get along in the future." Wang Canjun disdainfully said, "Cut, what's wrong with the deputy captain of the production team? I'm not afraid of wearing shoes when I'm barefoot. See what he can do to me." The first-level official is overpowering people, and now the production team captain is a hands-off shopkeeper. When working, it's always the deputy captain who assigns tasks. It's too easy for him to manipulate you. Let's not touch that mold. Xueru spoke earnestly, holding Wang Canjun tightly in both hands, afraid that someone might impulsively chase after him and injure Li Hu. At this moment, Wang Canjun could feel warmth and two masses of pressure, his face flushed and his ears flushed, his heart beating, and he was panting, "Okay, sister.in.law, I'll listen to you and not look for that beast anymore. Please let go of me," he said, spitting out a mouthful. Upon hearing this, Xueru finally let go of Wang Canjun, but she was not quite at ease as she held on to his arm. "All right, sister.in.law, I really won't pursue him anymore. You let go of me, I need to go back," Wang Canjun said angrily. Upon seeing the situation, however, Xueru still held on to his arm, lowered her head, pursed her mouth, and had a hint of embarrassment on her face. With a hesitant expression, Wang Canjun immediately stopped earning and grabbed her hand with his back, saying, "Sister-in-law, don't be afraid. If Li Hu dares to harass you again in the future, you can call me. Junzi, what if Li Hu comes in the middle of the night? Look at my yard, it can't stop people at all, and this window can't stop people either." Wang Canjun glanced at her yard and found that only adults with a higher chest height could flip over with more agile children, let alone Li Hu, who was an adult. Looking at her window again, because it was old, the window frame had rotted off. Although there was a layer of paper pasted on it, it couldn't stop people at all. Seeing this, he also felt extremely unsafe, but he had no idea for a moment. But seeing Xueru's pretty face turn red at this moment, biting the corner of her lips with a worried and shy expression, "I still pity her." Wang Canjun had never seen this expression of a very young girl on Xueru's face before, so he seemed to understand her meaning and said, "Sister-in-law, why don't I stay tonight to protect you?" Xueru didn't speak again, just nodded, her head drooped lower, and her face turned even redder, even more beautiful than flowers. P.S. Newcomers and new books, seeking flowers, collecting, and evaluation tickets. The author is very hardworking and never stops updating. The story plot, please give more guidance to the bosses. Chapter 5. I think you and Huai Ru are very suitable. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Wang Canjun didn't even understand the other party's thoughts when he saw the situation. When he was excited, he hugged him and said, "Sister-in-law, then we." At this moment, Xueru pushed him away and gave him a charming look. "Why are you in a hurry?" "Xiaoying hasn't slept yet," she said, speaking, a beautiful face like a hibiscus turned red, all the way to her swan-like jade neck. Seeing Wang Canjun staring blankly at her at this moment, her eyes burning hot, and her heart pounding, but he pouted at Sakura and said, "Can you help me keep an eye on Sakura? I'll tidy up the dishes and take a shower." After speaking, he turned around and went to pick up the dishes and chopsticks. The night is getting deeper. The door and the house door are both closed. The room is illuminated like beans. Wang Canjun sat in the hall, holding little Sakura and comforting her. This little girl is still energetic, but there was no crying either. The sound of splashing water came from the inner room. Xueru is taking a shower. Upon hearing that sound, Wang Canjun's mind would conjure up various images, and he couldn't help but feel a wave of dry mouth and tongue. After a while, Xueru put on her clothes and walked out. After taking a shower, she had two rosy cheeks, which were even more charming. Wang Canjun was stunned by the sight. She blushed and lowered her head, afraid to look at Wang Canjun. Taking little Sakura from his arms, he frowned and said, "This child is always energetic at night, but how can we deal with it?" "Don't worry, slowly adjust it for her." "She can adjust it," Wang Canjun said with a pun and a simple smile. Xueru's pretty eyes turned white at him, but she sat down in a chair and said to him, "There's still some hot water in the inner room. Why don't you go wash it too, Junzi?" Xueru knew that the old man didn't like to take a shower, and her husband was just like that, refusing to listen to advice. She thought Wang Canjun would do the same, otherwise. Wang Canjun readily agreed, "Follow me to the inner room and wash it." When he returned to the hall, he saw Xueru still feeding water to little Ingzi. After the two of them reached a tacit understanding, he didn't shy away, staring straight at me. The sound of swallowing saliva makes a loud gurgling sound. Qin Huairu looked up at the man with anger, then quickly lowered her head and smiled, "Don't worry, when Xiaoying falls asleep, I'll give you a bite too." Women are really generous, they say it's for a bite. As a result, Wang Canjun was almost exhausted. However, the woman cried. In the darkness, the crying voice is very cathartic, but the crying voice is a bit suppressed. "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry, I didn't control myself. Woo-woo. Sister-in-law, I won't eat anymore. Don't cry anymore. Woo-woo. No, sister-in-law, I didn't mean to. Woo-woo, I'm not crying about this. I drank the chicken soup you gave me and the amount was enough. It's not bad for you. Why are you crying? I feel uncomfortable when you cry, too." Qin Huairu turned around and didn't answer. She sobbed a few more times before stopping her crying. Once it was confirmed that she didn't cry because of grabbing little Sakura's rations, Wang Canjun was not ashamed anymore, and as a person of 2 generations, he could also vaguely see some clues at this moment, just seeing through but not saying through. Turning her head, she glanced at Sakura, who was sleeping soundly by the bed. After a long sigh of relief, she said with relief, "Little Sakura is really well behaved, she hasn't woken up." He thought, how uncomfortable it would be if Sakura woke up during the process, unable to move up or down. Pushi, unexpectedly, Qin Huairu suddenly smiled. Turning around, he said, "It's not in vain for you to hurt her. If you know you've done something wrong, I'll give you a chance." Wang Canjun stared at her pretty face, which still had lingering charm, for a moment. Seeing this woman crying and laughing, he became even more convinced of his guess. At this moment, a strong sense of pride surged in my heart. Although he traveled through the poorest years, fortunately, the body he had taken away was much stronger than his previous life, surprisingly able to fight so well. Both of the first 2 matches were coherent. The final result is to make the woman around me cry and laugh. Wang Canjun also gave a wicked smile at this moment and said, "Sister-in-law, I know why you're crying." Qin Huairu was taken aback for a moment, her shy eyes flickering. She glanced at him disdainfully and said, "Cut, little brat, what do you know?" "I knew, do you want me to say it?" Wang Canjun laughed even worse. "Don't say it, if you say it, I'll pinch your mouth." Qin Huairu blushed with embarrassment, pouting and angry at him, her eyes able to squeeze water out. He also extended his delicate white fingers and gestured to pinch his mouth, looking fierce. In front of him, for the first time, she showed the angry and cute expression of a little girl. "Okay, I won't say it." Wang Canjun made a surrendering expression and gesture. Under the bed, warm and cozy, winter has changed to summer. It can make people sweat. After flirting for a while, the 2 of them gathered together to chat. At this moment, Qin Huairu let out a long sigh and suddenly said seriously, "Junzi, in your eyes, what kind of person does sister-in-law look like? Is she the kind of promiscuous woman who doesn't follow the rules of women?" "Of course not, in my eyes, sister-in-law, you are a living bodhisattva and the purest woman in the world," Wang Canjun said in a pleasing tone. "Nonsense, my sister-in-law is just like you, still pure." Qin Huairu's voice was filled with shame. This kind of thing is difficult for Wang Canjun to explain. After thinking for a moment, she said, "Sister-in-law, as long as your heart is clean, everything you do is clean." Qin Huairu nodded secretly upon hearing this, but shook her head again and said, "My sister-in-law did this for you, but more of it was for myself." After a pause, he said, "You know, I'm only 22 years old this year, and your big brother has been away for half a year." Wang Canjun said, "I understand. You're still young and there's no man around you. These days are just as bland and tasteless as that water. Sister-in-law, don't worry, I will always be by your side in the future, protecting you, not letting you be hurt, not letting you be wronged, and not letting you be lonely. Join the army, don't misunderstand. I'm not doing this for you to marry me. You still have to marry me, and I won't delay you." Qin Huairu, in order to prove her attitude, then brought up the media matter again. Actually, I have already thought about this matter and helped you find a girl. You have also seen this girl, which is my sister Qin Huairu. I think both of you are suitable. Wang Canjun couldn't help but laugh upon hearing this. Of course, he has seen Qinhuai Ru before. As Wanjia village is adjacent to Qinjia village, just like a nearby village, Wang Canjun is not unfamiliar with Qinhuai Ru. When I was a child, I used to play naked together. However, now Qin Xueru's intention is to ask them to continue playing together with bare buttocks. This is a bit embarrassing. Chapter 6. In order to make money, go hunting in the mountains. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Wang Canjun said, Sister-in-law, Huairu is beautiful, but her personality is not like yours. She has a high heart. Didn't she always want to marry into the city? Qin Xueru frowned and said, Huairu has this idea, but her heart is higher than heaven and her life is thinner than paper. She is just beautiful. When it comes to academic chemistry, she is not as good as me. At least I will attend school for a few days and barely recognize a few words. She hasn't attended a single day of school and doesn't know a single big character. Even if she enters the city, she can't get a city household registration or find a job. As a city man, anyone who is normal would want her. When Wang Canjun thought about how Qin Huairu in the drama really married into the city, and this world was exactly the world in the quadrangle drama, he said, it's hard to say. Men with good conditions may not like her, but there are also families in the city with lower conditions, maybe they can. Seeing Wang Canjun say this, Qin Xueru frowned and said, No, what do you mean by saying this, Canjun? Do you look down on Huairu, or do you think you don't deserve Huairu? Wang Canjun said, Neither of them are. I just think so. Huairu has a high heart. If she has one mind and wants to marry into the city, and I, on the other hand, won't be able to go to the city for a year or two, we won't be able to come together in the end. The living conditions in the countryside are poor, with food and clothing. Of course, the city is more spacious. If he doesn't have space, he will definitely want to go to the city to find a job and find a way to settle down, but now that there is space and space transfer function, it is also convenient to enter the city, so I don't want to live in the city anymore. In addition, with Qin Xueru, a woman who knows both cold and hot, the winter bedding will no longer be empty, lonely, and cold. She is not in a hurry to find a wife, nor is she afraid that after finding a wife, she will not be able to interact with Qin Xueru, this beautiful sister. Law. After a pause, he said, Also, if I really marry a wife, I won't be able to take care of you and Sakura in the future. Upon hearing this, Qin Xueru was deeply moved and hugged her tightly. She said passionately, Junzi, thank you for always thinking about our mother. It's not in vain for me to treat you like this. Wang Canjun said, Sister-in-law, why don't I marry my wife anymore? We'll secretly spend our entire lives together. Wives are better than concubines are better than thieves. Furthermore, as a descendant, he had an open-minded mind and believed that it didn't matter whether he married or not. Life was short, as long as he lived happily and happily. That's not possible. Qin Xueru immediately rejected his idea. If Sister.in.law agrees to you, it's like harming you. That's a criminal. When I go underground one day, your parents won't spare me. As a rural woman, Qin Xueru's feudal ideology is very serious. Wang Canjun saw that he couldn't persuade the woman and said, Okay, since you have such an idea, then you can help me find an obedient woman. This way, when I marry someone I can continue to get along with you. That's why my sister.in.law wants to introduce Huairu to you, Qin Xueru said. Huairu and I are cousins. Even if our family gets closer in the future, even if you help us, she won't doubt. At least outsiders won't gossip. Upon hearing this, Wang Canjun's heart lit up and he nodded incessantly. It's still thoughtful of you. If I really marry Huairu, we will not only be neighbors but also relatives in the future. However, Sister.in.law, are you not planning to get married again? After hearing these words, Xueru fell silent for a moment, then sighed, I've been thinking about this before, but I'm also afraid. Sister-in-law, what are you afraid of? Afraid of not getting married well, Xiaoyingzi followed me to suffer. For someone like me, if we remarry, what kind of good man can we marry? A good man doesn't want a second married woman like me. I feel aggrieved when I marry a man like your big brother. If I come across someone with a worse temper than him, I really can't live. Xueru's husband's name is Zhao Dongxu. He is a bad-tempered person who talks like arguing and fights like killing a pig. Wang has memories of this, knowing that he scolded Xueru a lot during his lifetime, and Xueru did not pretend to be pitiful. Seeing that what Xueru said was reasonable, Wang Canjun did not advise her to find another one because he had space to afford it. The problem now to be solved was how to take Qinhuai Ru. Since sister-in-law, you don't plan on getting married, then you can put your heart on me in the future. I will take care of you and Sakura. Wang Canjun said, if you think Huairu and I are suitable, then help me find a matchmaker. Seeing Wang Canjun agree to marry Qinhuai Ru, Xueru was very happy and patted her full chest, promising, Junzi, you can rest assured that this matter is up to your sister-in-law. She will spare no effort in trying to persuade you. Sister Xueru, you are so kind to me. How can I repay you? He. Wang Canjun said as he scanned Xueru's smooth and rosy face, his gaze becoming fiery with his rugged and proud curves. My hands are not honest anymore. Xueru said with a hint of fear, enemy, please take it easy, otherwise my sister-in-law won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow. The next day, early in the morning, Xueru couldn't get out of bed. She, who is accustomed to waking up early, couldn't wake up on time and slept soundly. Wang Canjun quietly got up from bed, put on his clothes, and went out to find her hunting gun in his ear room. He then rummaged through it and found 6 bullets in a cloth bag in a drawer. He grabbed them directly in his hand, then a spatial teleportation went straight to the mountains outside the village. Xueru asked him to marry Qinhuai Ru, but Wang Canjun was tempted. Qinhuai Ru is the kind of person who follows the rooster and the dog. Once married, she is very protective of her mother-in-law's family and also takes care of others. She is hardworking, capable, and beautiful. She is an outstanding girl in every village, making her a suitable choice for a daughter-in-law, and if he really marries her, he can still continue to interact with Xueru in the future. In fact, Qinhuai Ru has another characteristic that is precious to men, that means she is very tolerant of her own men. Even if you do something naughty, she can tolerate it. In this way, he can continue to get along with Xueru after marriage, without even having to hide it from Qinhuai Ru. It's his family's current situation, 1 without money, and 2 without the support of the elderly. Qinhuai Ru is definitely not interested, and even Qinhuai Ru's parents are not interested. Although he has space, this matter cannot be disclosed to the public. The material produced in space cannot be displayed, so if you want Qinhuai Ru to appreciate you, you have to think of another way. So he ventured up the mountain again to hunt. This is a reasonable way to earn money. Moreover, with space and spatial teleportation capabilities, even going to the most dangerous wild boar hole on the mountain is not life-threatening. Chapter 7. Hunting for big wild boars, Xueru feels nervous. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The season has already entered winter, and the weather is cold. In this year of famine, people can't eat enough, and the prey on the mountains has nothing to eat. Animals are not like humans. The villagers lie in bed without food to save energy, and they are too lazy to even leave the door. However, the prey on the mountains is very active. Early in the morning, small animals came out to search for food. Only when Wang Canjun arrived at the mountain did he see 2 wild rabbits with gray-brown fur not far away. They looked very alert as they poked their heads out of the grass. Looking at those 2 small things, Wanshen decided to first try the space teleportation function on them. he entered the space, and when he came out again, he was already behind 2 wild rabbits. Before the 2 rabbits could react, he quickly extended his hands and grabbed them in his hands. When 2 wild rabbits were about to struggle, they were already taken into space by Wang Canjun. The wild rabbit entering the space, completely under the control of Wang Canjun's will, became incredibly tame and instantly stopped struggling, and they can understand Wang Canjun's words as if they are under his command. Wang Canjun did not harm the 2 little things either. He also fed them food and provided them with some water from the space pond to drink, and explained that they did not have their own orders to touch anything in the space. Then, Wang Canjun returned to the mountain and continued hunting. With such a powerful space teleportation function, there is no need for a shotgun to shoot these small prey. Wang Canjun used the same method to catch another foolish roe deer. No wonder it's called a silly roe deer. This roe deer is really not clever enough. When Wang Canjun walked towards the planer, the roe deer had not yet reacted. It wasn't until Wang Canjun was less than 10 meters away that it turned around and ran away, but he didn't run fast at all. Wang Canjun was a bit surprised by the turtle's speed of the roe deer. With his physique and speed, he didn't use any space to teleport, so he rushed after him with flying steps. In a moment, he chased after him and pounced forward, pressing the roe deer to the ground. It was only then that he suddenly realized that the animal had a big belly and was clearly pregnant with a cub. Without waiting for the roe deer to struggle, he moved his mind and brought it into space. After further observation, it was found that the roe deer was truly pregnant and about to give birth. This is good news for him. With just one move, it's like counting deer with one stone. In fact, hunting in the mountains is not just for making money. Wang Canjun also has a goal, which is to create a prosperous space. There should not only be crops and other plants in the space, but also animals. Hunting wild animals on the mountain into space for reproduction, and slaughtering one if you want to eat wild game in the future is simply not too beautiful. Using this method, Wang Canjun spent the whole morning catching prey, including rabbits, wild chickens, deer, badgers, and pigs. Except for one badger pig, everything else is paired, which makes it easier for them to reproduce in space. Having been busy for a while, Wang Canjun is also a bit tired, mainly because last night I exerted too much force on Xueru's belly, and there were too many times. I even fired 2 consecutive shots. I woke up early this morning and had a severe lack of sleep. It's false to say I'm not sleepy. Although he is robust, he is still a mortal born with a physical body. He didn't bring any dry food either, so he entered the space and squatted down at the pond, picking up the water and drinking it. After diving into the water, the refreshing breath immediately shook his spirit, then the fatigue on the body quickly disappeared, and the physical strength quickly recovered, including the slightly sore waist, which was relieved at this time. The lower abdomen was still warm for a while, causing the little brothers below to start missing the girl from afar. TSK, the pond water in this space is like a divine medicine. He couldn't help but murmur and sigh, with a pleased smile on his face. At this moment, he carefully observed the pond and saw a clear and bottomless bottom. There is a clear spring hole in the center, gurgling water out of the spring to replenish the water he just drank. It's really amazing. With a knowing smile, he returned to the mountains. He found that the small animals on the mountain were very active, busy foraging and storing winter food, but there were very few wild fruits on the mountain. Seeing this, he was too lazy to take action and dug a few traps, then took out food from the space as bait to attract prey to fall for it. This method worked very well. In just a few hours, it caught a lot of small prey, including 2 wolves and a wild boar. That wild boar is not small, probably weighing over 200 pounds. Looking at the wild boar in the trap, Wang Canjun smiled because his goal had been achieved today. Speaking of Qin Huairu, she was tormented by Wang Canjun last night and her bones were scattered. She slept until after 10 o'clock and woke up feeling a bit tired. While feeling satisfied, she also sighed at Wang Canjun's cost. If Huairu had married him, she would be superior to other women in this aspect alone. She didn't pay attention to Wang Canjun's absence until she made lunch and went to deliver some to him. only to realize that he wasn't at home. At this time of idle farming, the production team has little work to do. The villagers lie at home to save energy and do not go out. It's strange that Wang Canjun is not at home this time, but Qin Huairu didn't care either. She thought he went out for a walk. After all, he just killed a chicken yesterday and had oil and water in his stomach. It wasn't until noon that he was tidying up his house that he realized the shotgun was missing, and when he pulled the drawer again, he found that the bullets were also missing. Moreover, there was no theft at home last night, and it is evident that the gun and bullet were taken by Wang Canjun. Thinking that Wang Canjun had secretly gone hunting in the mountains again, she was both angry and nervous, so she quickly went to find Wang Canjun's uncle, Wang Mingquan. Wang Canjun's parents left early, and several elders in his family didn't pay much attention to him. Only Uncle Wang Mingquan would ask a few questions. Wang Canjun went hunting in the mountains before his old injuries healed, which was too dangerous, and this point hasn't been answered. I'm afraid something might have happened again. Qin Huairu is burdened by Xiaoyingzi and has difficulty moving. Moreover, as a woman from her family, it is not realistic for her to run to the mountain to find him, so we can only come to find Wang Mingquan. She just ran to Wang Mingquan's house and told him about it. Wang Mingquan didn't believe it and kept shaking his head, because yesterday morning when he went to see his eldest nephew, he was still lying unconscious in bed, so he went hunting in the mountains today. If it weren't for thinking that Qin Huairu was a serious person, she would have thought that this woman was here to entertain him. Just as he was about to express his doubts, he heard 2 gunshots coming from a distant mountain. Since Qin Huairu's husband Zhao Dongxu was arched down the cliff by a wild boar, the hunters in the village have been scared and are in a semi-closed state. Coupled with the poor weather, the family has no food to eat, lacks nutrition, lacks strength, and even walks with difficulty. Whoever dares to go hunting in the mountains is afraid of collapsing before climbing up the mountain. So when he heard the gunshot at this moment, Wang Mingquan couldn't believe it anymore and had to believe it, thinking that the gun was fired by Wang Canjun and that he had discovered prey. Qin Huairu and Wang Mingquan's faces were both shocked, and then Wang Mingquan didn't say much. He called his 2 young men and hurriedly climbed the mountain, following the direction of the gunshot. It didn't take much effort to find Wang Canjun. I saw Wang Canjun sitting on the ground panting, with a wild boar lying on the ground in front of him, not small in size, weighing over 200 pounds. Upon seeing this scene, Wang Mingquan and the others breathed a long sigh of relief. However, when the stones in their hearts fell to the ground, they were all stunned. The younger generation of our family, who was unconscious in bed yesterday, went up the mountain to hunt and kill a big wild boar today. Even storytellers dare not make up such stories. Chapter 8. Wang Canjun distributes wild boar meat. Qin Huai Ru. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Faced with the surprised and strange gazes of his uncle and 2 cousins, Wang Canjun remained calm and steady like an old dog. Although he claimed that he had taken over someone's body, his behavior was also very unusual. A dying person suddenly jumped up the mountain and hit a big wild boar, which can be described as bizarre and inevitably raises suspicion, but he is not at all panicked. Because he traveled through the world of a quadrangle theater, not a world of immortals and knights that could see through his soul at a glance, so even if it shows some abnormalities, there is no problem at all. Even if others doubt him, they dare not speak recklessly. At this moment, a cousin named Wang Junki stared at Wang Canjun and felt a little uneasy in his heart. He whispered to Wang Mingquan, "Dad, are you afraid that Canjun is possessed by ghosts?" "Nonsense!" Wang Mingquan shouted sternly at his son in a deep voice and stared, "You are just a feudal superstition. If someone hears you, they won't even arrest you." Wang Junki shrank his neck and dared not say more. Wang Mingquan felt the same astonishment as his son in his heart, but on the surface, he could still hold his ground. He walked up to his nephew and patted his shoulder, asking, "Junzi, are you not injured?" "No," Wang Canjun replied briefly. "I'm just a bit tired." "Well done, you deserve to be a descendant of my Wang family," Wang Mingquan praised. Wang Canjun didn't want to hear this and pointed to the wild boar on the ground, saying, "Uncle, it's getting late. Let's find a way to get this beast down the mountain." Originally, this wild boar didn't need to die, but Wang Canjun needed it to show himself, to make some money and eat meat openly and honestly. Therefore, this wild boar must die and also eat 2 guns. Wang Mingquan turned his head to look at the wild boar, but saw that the beast had a gun hole on its head and neck, and praised Wang for joining the army with good marksmanship. After careful consideration, it was decided to unload the wild boar on the spot and bring it back in pieces. Wang Canjun proposed making a simple towing raft more convenient. After some discussion, everyone ultimately chose Wang Canjun's method. Originally, Wang Canjun could easily bring it back using space, but now he can only use manpower. Fortunately, the place where Wang participated in the military election was not far from the mountain pass, very close to the village, and he didn't need much effort. At dusk, the 4 members of the Wang family brought back the wild boar. It has been a long time since Xiao Dukui's death that no one has hunted wild boars. The heroic act of Wang Canjun hunting wild boars spread far and wide, and soon spread to the villages and beyond. Wanjia village and several neighboring villages have heard of it and come to see the excitement. There aren't many entertainment activities these days, but funerals can attract a large number of onlookers, let alone this matter, mainly because we don't see any oily smell in our daily lives, and we all want to see how much fat this wild boar is. Even if you can't eat it, it's good to see it, and among them is Qinhuai Ru. Under the crowd of dozens, the wild boar was dragged into Wang Canjun's house. Then Wang Canjun brought the butcher Ma Wu from the village to deal with the wild boar, and everyone watched from the sidelines. When they saw the wild boar with its open belly revealing thick fat, the onlookers couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Everyone was watching and discussing, praising the king's bravery and marksmanship in joining the army. Of course, some people also question why Wang Canjun suddenly improved from his serious illness and hunted the wild boar, but such doubts are only in his heart and no one has spoken them out in person. And at this moment, everyone's attention was focused on the wild boar. There was no time to ponder this matter. Quickly, a head weighing over 200 pounds was divided into pieces weighing more than 10 pounds, and then Wang Canjun began to distribute these pieces of meat. He first took out 3 pounds of meat and sent Ma Wu away, then he gave 5 pounds to each of the 3 uncles in his family who helped transport the wild boar, and in the end, he even distributed 5 pounds to Qin Huairu in front of the big guy. The reason is that he borrowed the hunting gun from Qin Huairu's family and naturally wanted to share his gains. Qin Huairu didn't refuse either, but when she received the 5 pounds of pork, she not only didn't feel happy, but also didn't have the taste. This pork was purchased by Wang Canjun at the risk of his life, and she couldn't bear to eat it, but on the surface, he didn't dare to show any trace, just silently went home. Qin Huairu's eyes lit up when she saw Wang Canjun hitting such a big wild boar. Seeing my cousin distribute 5 pounds of pork again, I was particularly envious. She also wanted to eat meat. At this moment, I thought about whether I could come to my cousin's house for a meal, so I followed her like a follower. Unfortunately, there is also a follower behind her, Qin Jingru, who is only 10 years old. Qin Jingru couldn't help but swallow saliva when she saw meat. The last time she ate meat was during last year's spring festival. She hasn't eaten meat for half a year, and she's also slandering. Qin Huairu is not a stingy person. When she saw her 2 cousins coming, she cut a piece of pork and stewed it. Of course, she has a purpose. When eating meat, she said to her 2 younger sisters, "Thank you to Wang Canjun for being able to eat meat today." Qin Jingru nodded like a little chicken chopping rice, wanting to respond, but her mouth was filled with meat, and she could only make a woo-woo sound. Qin Huairu nodded curiously and said, "Sister, Wang Canjun's family has so much meat left. How will he handle it?" "That's not easy, you can't finish eating and sell it," Qin Huairu said lightly. "I calculated, and after dividing it among you, there are still 200 pounds left in his family. If we sell it, the price will be lower, and even 1 pound can be sold for 200 yuan. Wang Canjun is making a lot of money." Qin Huairu envied. 200 yuan is quite a sum of money these days. It can even build a decent house in the countryside. Where are we now? With the intelligence and courage of joining the army, can we earn even more money in the future? Do you believe that? Qin Huai Ru began to praise the king for joining the army, so as to lay the groundwork for her future matchmaking. Qin Huai Ru nodded and didn't answer any more. Joining the army these small days will definitely be prosperous in the future. Whoever marries him will be designated to enjoy happiness, Qin Huai Ru said. Qin Huai Ru felt that her cousin had something to say, and her pretty face turned slightly red. She nodded but still didn't answer. Huairu, what do you think of joining the army? Qin Huai Ru said. What's going on? Qin Huairu pretended to be confused. Huairu, I won't beat around the bush with you anymore. Let me be frank. I think you are quite suitable for a talented and beautiful soldier. I want you two to match up. What's your idea? Before Qin Huairu could speak, Qin Jingru swallowed a piece of meat from her mouth and looked at Qin Huairu with envy on her face. Sister, please promise quickly. If you can marry the enlisted brother, you will have to eat meat every day in the future. Chapter 9. 3 Rus, gather together, Wang joins the army. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, Qin Huairu's face was still thin. When she heard Qin Jingru's words, her pretty face blushed unconsciously. However, she reached out and pinched Qin Jingru's small mouth, which was still eating non-stop. She angrily said, You little girl can't stop your mouth even if you eat meat. Qin Jingru had something in her mouth and said vaguely, Sister, am I telling the truth? Oh, I'm not as slanderous as you. If you want to eat meat, I'll give you this opportunity, hee. Qin Huairu took the opportunity to make a joke to cover up her embarrassment. Qin Jingru frowned and said, I really want to be my daughter.in.law, but my grade is too young and I'm afraid he can't wait. Oh, your little mouth is so eloquent, and your skin is really thick, Qin Huairu pinched Qin Jingru's little face again. Qin Huairu was a bit anxious at this moment and asked, Huairu, this matchmaker. Sister is serious, not just for fun. Can you give her a definite answer? Seeing her cousin speak up, Qin Huairu no longer felt embarrassed and said solemnly, Sister, joining the army is a person with spirit and skills. Which girl is not rare, but when getting married and living, it depends not only on their appearance and ability, but also on whether their temperaments match or not, so. Upon hearing this, Qin Huairu also realized that her words were reasonable and that she was chasing too closely. Her younger sister didn't even react and couldn't give her a chance to consider. So she said, Huairu, I understand what you mean. You want to join the army everywhere first, don't you rush to make a decision, right? Well, that's what I mean, Qin Huairu nodded and said. Well, after finishing dinner, I'll take you to his house and have a good chat with you too, Qin Huairu smiled. After eating, Qin Huairu was not in a hurry to pick up the dishes, so she led Qin Huairu to Wang Canjun.At's house. Qin Jingru naturally couldn't leave her behind, and there were also Xiaoingzi. These 4 people. Qin Huairu was a mature and charming young woman, Qin Huairu was a pure and lovely young girl, Qin Jingru was a cute and charming little loli, and Xiaoingzi was a cute baby carved with powder and jade. All 3 Ru gathered together, and 4 women of different age groups, each with their own beauty and expertise in the battlefield, each representing the beauty of the 4 age groups. Seeing the arrival of Sanru together, Wang Canjun felt a wave of restlessness in his heart. Wang Canjun had also eaten this meeting and was sitting there smoking. He saw Qin Huairu go to Qin Huairu's house and predicted that Qin Huairu would bring her to his own house, so he waited here specifically. As soon as they arrived, they put out their cigarettes and stood up with a smile, saying, It's really rare for your sisters to get together today. Qin Huairu pouted and said with a smile, It wasn't your wild boar meat that tricked me. They were all little slanderers who ate 2 pounds of my meat in one meal. Qin Huairu felt ashamed in her heart upon hearing this, blushing and lowering her head, her toes pushing against the ground. Joining the army, Qin Jingru, who was not shy at her age, looked at Wang Canjun and called out sweetly, Although she didn't see Wang Canjun often, she didn't realize it at all. This girl is naturally familiar. Wang Canjun continued, being able to eat is a blessing. Besides, people will slander. There's nothing to say about it. If they like to eat, they can come to my house to eat in the future. I still have 200 pounds of meat here, that's enough. Wang Canjun said, generously waving his hand. Qin Ru was overjoyed upon hearing this and said, all right, you're too generous to join the army. I really like it. As he spoke, he rushed over and hugged Wang Canjun's thigh. Wang Canjun pinched the little girl's small face bag. Qin Ru has been beautiful since she was young, and she has a sharp and agile personality. Wang Canjun also likes her unabashed personality. Jingru, are you shy? Qin Huairu glanced at her younger sister. A prompt says, this is not your home. Sister, in the future, you will be the daughter.in.law of Yunga, and then I will be Yunga's sister. We are all family now, what's so shy about? Qin Jingru was sharp-tongued at a young age, and her critical thinking was still clear. Unfortunately, such a great talent was not used for learning. My academic performance is terrible, it seems like I can't finish elementary school either. A sentence made Qinhuai Ru blush to the base of her neck, and she angrily said, what nonsense are you talking about, little girl? Xueru quickly said at this moment, it's not the fault of Jingru. Joining the army is like this. Just now at my house, I talked to Huairu and I think you two are quite suitable. You are talented and beautiful. I want to match you too. This matter was agreed upon by the two last night when they finished the piston movement, but Qinhuai Ru couldn't know about it, so it was necessary for Xueru to say it in front of both of them. And it must be taken seriously. Wang Canjun naturally pretended not to know, and upon hearing the words, he said, well, it's rare for Sister Xueru to think so much of me. I have reached the age of marriage and also want to marry someone, and now I can earn money by hunting, and my family can afford to eat and wear. I can support my daughter.in.law. In the future, when my daughter.in.law passes by, I will take care of all the work inside and outside, and my daughter.in.law will enjoy her happiness at home. Wang Canjun first drew a big cake for the person and trapped them. When we get married, that's definitely not the case. Marrying Qinhuai Ru was because she was attracted to her beauty and diligence. Of course, such good quality needs to be promoted. After marriage, Qinhuai Ru not only has to be responsible for her beauty like a flower, but also for her diligent household management. But Qinhuai Ru believed it to be true and felt happy in her heart. It's all because my predecessor was too honest and never told a lie. Give people an honest and reliable image. Huai Ru, take a look. What a great man to join the army. If you marry him, he can treat you like a treasure. Holding you in the palm of his hand is afraid of falling, holding you in his mouth is afraid of melting. Qin Xueru quickly spoke up to help Wang Canjun take down her cousin in one fell swoop. Qin Xueru became even more convinced upon hearing this. Can my cousin deceive me? Of course not. But she still has a consideration in her heart, that is, Aunt Wang came to her house a few days ago to provide her with a matchmaker. The man is from the city. He has a formal job in a state-owned factory, and there are old people at home to help. She was a little moved when she heard this. The conditions in the countryside are poor, and she doesn't want to work hard in the countryside every day. She is determined to marry into the city. Qin Xueru brought Qinhuai Ru over to explain the matter first, without expecting Qinhuai Ru to directly agree. At this moment, seeing her shy appearance, she said to Qin Jingru, let's go play in the yard and let you join the army and have a chat with Huairu alone. All right, Qin Jingru obediently responded and walked with Qin Xueru into the courtyard. Chapter 10. Jia Dongxu, Qinhuai Ru, Wanshen. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the room, the lights are like beans. Qinhuai Ru has a slender figure and a delicate face. At this moment, she was beautiful with a hint of purity, but a pair of peach blossom eyes and a plump little mouth give her a hint of charm, giving people a pure and lustful taste. She stood there, feeling a little cramped. Wang Canjun pointed to the chair and gestured for her to sit down. He smiled and said, "Huai Ru, let's play small and play big together. Are you still feeling awkward with me?" Qin Huairu's nervousness was more due to not explaining the truth and feeling uneasy. Wang Canjun had a clear understanding of her personality, and Qin Huairu was also open-minded in her personality. She was usually a graceful and generous girl. Besides, they are not strangers, so she looks very abnormal now. Wang Canjun felt that the girl had something on her mind or had hidden something from him. He thought it was mostly because she was still considering getting married to the city. Seeing her sitting in the chair, she smiled and said, "Huairu, I know you have a high heart and want to marry into the city." Qin Huairu pursed her lips and said, "Joining the army, I." Wang Canjun did not deny seeing her, and he looked hesitant to speak. "Oh, by the way, I heard someone suggested a matchmaker for you." "Is the man from the city?" He began to use cliches. Qin Huairu's face trembled upon hearing this, and she looked up at Wang Canjun in a daze. She stuttered and said, "You, how do you know?" Wang Canjun saw that he had tricked him out and smiled. "This is not a secret. Those matchmakers have the most open mouths, and when they see someone, they say, 'I also heard it.' By the way, how has this matter progressed?" Qin Huairu responded lightly, feeling very embarrassed in her heart. Talking about another marriage with the blind date was really outrageous. She blushed and said, "There's this matter, it's Aunt Wang. She went to my house and talked about it so much, and her bazi hasn't even changed yet." Wang Canjun said, "The conditions in the city are better than those in the countryside. If we can marry into the city, it would be a good thing." "But," Wang Canjun said but before pausing, he didn't continue. Qin Huairu heard half of it and couldn't see the rest of it. Her curiosity was clouded, so she asked, "But what?" Wang Canjun said, "But if the married family is not good, the life after marriage may not be as good as in the countryside." Before Qin Huairu could speak, Wang Canjun asked, "Have you met the man before? Have you ever understood him?" Qin Huairu shook her head and felt that there was no need to hide anything from Wang Canjun, so she said truthfully, "No, it was agreed that Aunt Wang will take me to the city for a blind date next Sunday." Wang Canjun nodded and said, "Well, as a matchmaker, I've heard some from hearsay. Whether you believe it or not, I'll still speak up to prevent you from falling into the trap." Qin Huairu opened her mouth slightly and stared at Wang Canjun in shock. Wang Canjun said, "I heard that the portrait that Aunt Wang proposed to you, named Jia Dongxu, has an average appearance. Anyway, he doesn't have my spirit, and his height is not as high as mine. These are not that big of a deal. After all, living a life is not just about having one face, but Jia Dongxu's body and bones are naturally weak, and he suffers from illnesses all day long. Moreover, his brain is dead, he is clumsy and lazy. He has been working in the factory for 3 years and is still a first-class worker. His master is almost infuriated by him." Qin Huairu listened and let out an exclamation, staring at Wang Canjun in astonishment. He only learned from Aunt Wang that the man's name was Jia Dongxu, and did not know the detailed situation of Jia Dongxu. Surprisingly, Wang Canjun knew more than she did. This couldn't help but make her doubt. Also, although the Jia family is from the city, they are poor and have only one room. Upon hearing this, Qin Huairu exclaimed inwardly, "Oh my goodness, in a room, the Jia family still has an old mother, where can she live after marrying? It's not convenient to sleep at night." Wang Canjun continued, "Jia Dongxu has an old mother who everyone calls Jia Zhang. She is lazy and always eats and sleeps every day. When things don't go well, she swears and curses. Her reputation in their courtyard is very bad, and her neighbors are bothering her. Jia Dongxu's salary is very low, more than 20 yuan a month. He not only has to support his family, but also gives his mother 3 yuan as pension money. He not only has to work, but also cooks and washes clothes for his mother. Upon hearing this, Qin Huairu felt outrageous and couldn't help but exclaim again. In short, your future mother. Law is so lazy that she is now waiting for you to do laundry, cook, and serve her after you pass by. Of course, these are secondary, and the most crucial thing is that Jia Zhang has a bad temper. If he doesn't like it, he will scold the heavens and the earth, speak ill of others, and offend all the residents in the courtyard to death. At this point, Wang Canjun paused for a moment and looked at Qin Huairu, saying, Huairu, when you marry, not only will you work as a cow and horse for the Jia family, but you will also suffer from the cowardice of the Jia and Zhang families. Qin Huairu became increasingly depressed as she listened. How could there be such a woman in the world? But she questioned Wang Canjun's words. Wang Canjun knew that Qin Huairu didn't believe him, so he said, Huairu, I'm not really scaring you. If you don't believe me, you'll know when you meet Jia Dongxu the other day. Besides, you can also inquire first to see if what I'm saying is true. Joining the army, how did you know so well? Qin Huairu was now puzzled by this matter. I was also afraid that you might fall into the fire pit and deliberately helped you inquire, explained Wang Canjun. Upon hearing this, Qin Huairu naturally doubted Wang Canjun's words. After all, they also need to get along like each other now, so of course he doesn't want to marry into the city himself. Wang Canjun knew she didn't believe it, so he smiled and said, oh, by the way, there was a projectionist. Do you remember? A while ago, he came to our commune to play a movie. He was in his 40s and had a horse face. What was his name? By the way, his name is Su Wood. It is said that he and Jia Dongxu live in the same courtyard for many years. He has been living there for a long time and knows the Jia family very well. You can ask your father to inquire about him. Qin Huai Ru nodded and said, thank you for joining the army, brother. No need, Wang Canjun smiled innocently at this moment. Actually, I have always treated you like a little sister. It doesn't matter whether our things are successful or not, but I don't like you jumping into the fire pit. Marriage is not a child's play, you have to be careful. City people are not as kind as us rural people, they won't give you heart and soul. Qin Huairu originally had great aspirations for entering the city and was also very optimistic about this marriage. However, upon hearing Wang Canjun's words, she felt that these had become illusions and was very disappointed. She stood up and said goodbye before leaving. Wang Canjun stared at her lonely back as she walked out, his lips teasing, but his gaze showed firmness. Anyway, Qin Huairu is a little friend who grew up naked with him. With this friendship alone, he can't let her jump into the big fire pit of the Jia family. He must stir up trouble for this marriage. It's late. The stars and moon intertwine. Qin Xueru bid farewell to Qin Huairu and Qin Jingru, and welcomed Wang Canjun. Under the bed, warm and cozy. Wang Canjun glanced at Xiaoingzi, who was sleeping soundly next to him, and smiled knowingly. Xiaoingzi slept quite early tonight. I didn't sleep for her during the day, Qin Xueru said, revealing her feelings. She blushed a bit ashamed. No, sister.in.law, are you creating an opportunity for me? Wang Canjun smiled and said, how can I thank you? Qin Xueru blushed and buried her face in someone's arms, picking up his hand and climbing up the hill together. Perhaps I've been eating meat and soup with you these past few days, and my nutrition has kept up. It's all rising here, and I'm feeling uncomfortable, murmured shyly. Wang Canjun felt it, and it was indeed as she said. No, sister.in.law, didn't you feed Sakura? He asked with a smile. Can she not feed it? But with such a large amount, she can't finish it. Sister-in-law, so you asked me to help. Oh, why did you learn to be talkative too? My mouth is just too poor. Sister-in-law, you are so rich that you have to help your brothers. Hee hee.